Coming up on both sides of the vehicle, a set of 4 emblems for the 4 branches of the armed services. When the gates were heading crossing over the Custis walkway runs throughout the cemetery. If you look past the Custis walkway, there's 2 rows of grave markers. The furthest one on the left is for Technical Sergeant Major Evers, who served during World War II. He was the first secretary in the NAACP in his home state of Mississippi, during which he investigated hate crimes, including the death of 14-year-old Emmett Till, which may have led to his own death in 1963. He cut down his driveway. He was buried here at Arlington days later with full military honors. On both sides of the vehicle, but especially the driver's side, rows upon rows of standard grave markers. These grave markers are given by the Veterans Administration at no cost to the families of the service members. They weigh approximately 230 pounds and are made of Vermont marble. On the driver's side, you're looking at the back side of these grave markers. You may notice the name of a wife or a child. The service member's name and information is on the front of the marker. In early 1945, a force of 80,000 Marines invaded a small island 630 miles south of mainland Japan. They were opposed by 20,000 Japanese soldiers. The battle would last for 5 weeks. The battle of high ground on Iwo Jima was called Mount Suribachi, that's an enormous volcano. And on the 5th day of that battle, the Marines captured the high ground and raised a flag. So that it be known to all those who could see that they had in fact achieved the feat. It was considered so successful, so inspiring, they raised a second, larger flag on top of Mount Suribachi. A team of 6 Marines raised a pipe they found on top of the mountain with a larger flag that had been brought up especially for the occasion. And a photograph was taken of that second flag raising by Associated Press photographer Joe Rosenthal, who captured that moment of the flag perched at an angle as it was coming up. It was printed across the country and around the world. He won a Pulitzer Prize for that photograph that was then turned into a sculpture by Felix Dueldon. That sculpture is the United States Marine Corps War Memorial, short walk outside of the cemetery. 2 of the 6 Marines depicted in that photo are buried here at Arlington. Sergeant Michael Strank in Section 12 and Corporal Ira Meade in Section 34. Here on our driver's side, up by the tree here by the stop, the second row against the tree with black lettering, Corporal Rene Gagnon was long thought to be one of those 6 flag raisers. He's now understood to be the man who carried the flag to the top of Mount Suribachi. This is the stop for the Marine Corps War Memorial. The Iwo Jima statue is a short walk outside of the cemetery. I'm going to getting off here for Elo. The 1950s. We are currently in Section 27 on both sides of the vehicle. Section 27 has the oldest military burials here, beginning in May of 1864. And on the driver's side, take a look at these grave markers and notice the initials USCT on them. That stands for the United States Colored Troops, African American soldiers who served during the Civil War. Including the 54th Massachusetts, which you may have seen depicted in the film Glory, with Denzel Washington. Morgan Freeman. On both sides of the vehicle, these graves say a citizen or civilian. These are freedmen. Freedmen were formerly enslaved African American. They lived here in Freedmen's Village on the property during the Civil during the Civil War to identify all of those killed in combat because of advances in technology, particularly in artillery. So coming up on the driver's side, we'll see square grave markers. These square grave markers are Civil War unknown. They have no names. No state of origin. There are about 1,100 of these Civil War unknown, most of them here in Section 27. It would not be until the First World War that dog tags became standard issue in American troops to resolve this problem. Arlington National Cemetery has grown, changed, and evolved over the years. Coming up on the far side of this maintenance area is Section 78. Section 78 added 28,000 additional burial spaces, both above ground in columbarium for the storage of inurnments, ashes in urns, as well as in-ground burials. Most famous in-ground burial here in Section 78, Sergeant and actor Arlie Ermey. Arlie Ermey, who portrayed Gunnery Sergeant Hardman in the film Full Metal Jacket. You may have heard his voice as the character Sarge in the first 3 Toy Story movies. You may have also heard him in an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants. On the driver's side, Section 28. Section 28 is high concentration of mid-20th century veterans and combatants of the Korean and Vietnam Wars. President John F. Kennedy visited Arlington National Cemetery in March of 1963. He was here to surprise his daughter Caroline on a school field trip. Snuck out of the White House, came over here, decided to take a tour of the Arlington House, view overlooking Washington, D.C. And while there, he overheard say to the park ranger, "It is so beautiful, I could stay here forever." Unfortunately, forever came too soon. 8 months later, in November of 1963, President Kennedy was assassinated, November 22nd, 1963. And his wife, Jacqueline, on hearing this story, would request that her husband be buried here instead of at the family plot in Brookline, Massachusetts, as he had originally planned, so he does in fact lie here forever. On both sides of the vehicle, notice the grave markers of different sizes, shapes, and colors. These are privately funded grave markers, paid for by family or friends. They're no longer installed since 2017 out of state and maintenance concerns. And on the driver's side, we're going to look down the paved walkway here. Across this walkway once again into the grove of trees for Captain Robert Tom Lincoln, the eldest son of Abraham Lincoln. Served as Secretary of War under Ulysses Grant. He served under during the Civil War as well. On the passenger side of the vehicle, this hill is Section 5 Supreme Court Justice Hall, and has a number of Supreme Court justices, including Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr., William O. Douglas, Chief Justice William Rehnquist, Potter Stewart. Up on around the corner here, the tall black grave marker with the Star of David is Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her husband Martin. 2 rows behind the Ginsburgs, a dark gray grave marker is Thurgood Marshall, the first African American Supreme Court Justice. He was appointed in 1967. On the passenger side, you may notice wall below gray wall, boundary of President John F. Kennedy Memorial Gravesite with the eternal flame. The eternal flame was lit when President President Kennedy are his wife Jacqueline, two infant children, his brothers Robert and Ted, and a memorial marker for older brother Joseph Jr.
So hang on to all your personal items. Next stop will be the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. All right, coming up on the passenger side, gray marker with a cross on it for General Daniel Chappie James Jr., first four-star African-American general, trained and flew with a Tuskegee Airmen. Driver's side, gentleman on the horse, Field Marshal Sir John Hill, appointed by Winston Churchill to be the British liaison with America during World War II, one of over 74 nationals buried here in Arlington. Four markers up passenger side, final resting place for Maureen Fitzsimmons Blair, also known as Maureen O'Hara, the quiet band, Miracle on 34th Street. She married an Air Force Brigadier General. When he passed away, he ran his airplane company. Top of the hill, driver's side, black marker for General Benjamin O. Davis Jr., commander of the Tuskegee Airmen. His father, General Benjamin O. Davis Sr., buried here as well. 1940, became the first African-American general in American history. Next on the driver's side, four large markers in a row under a tree. Now that's Chaplin's Hill. Second marker from the right says Chaplin's on it, for 20 feet chaplains of all denominations died during World War I. Other three markers for chaplains of the Catholic faith, Protestant faith, and Jewish faiths died during World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. Driver's side, section 7. Now the final resting place for the first five-star general, General George C. Marshall, created the Marshall Plan, economic revival for basically Europe after World War II. Received the Nobel Peace Prize, the only Nobel laureate, very good, Arlington National Cemetery. Coming up on the passenger side when we pass the benches, large tree with a large brown marker next to it, large brown marker next to the tree. Final resting place for Army veteran and former heavyweight champion of the world, Joe Louis, the brown bomber. Next to his government marker, believe on it, the turning Tarzan had little. He was a Marine veteran, Purple Heart recipient. Now we're passing in front of the tube. I'm going straight out of respect. Keep the cameras out. Spectacular view. You want to picture this? Take my head up on this thing as well. Cameras out. Now you can stop. Everyone. Now we're going to drop you off on the other side of the building there in a few minutes. Now did you notice the three figures sculpted into the tomb? Three figures symbolizing peace, victory, and valor. Driver's side, section 6, have the final resting place for Lieutenant Commander Barbara Allen Rady, the first female naval aviator. Also on the driver's side, final resting place for the Marine, the greatest of all the leather, that's 13th Commandant of the Marine Corps, Lieutenant General John A. Lejeune, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, named after him. Notice the black marker says Archer on it, final resting place for Lieutenant Colonel Lee Buddy Archer, another Tuskegee Airman. Have 34 Tuskegee Airmen buried here at Arlington. Lieutenant Colonel Archer shot down 3 German enemy aircraft in 10 minutes. Notice the markers on the hill on the driver's side, how much closer they are together. Don't come off, hey, remember them. So remain buried under these markers. These are for service members who will miss an action. ASP remains never recovered. So coming in the tomb. Now there's more than one unknown soldier buried here. There's an unknown soldier for World War I, unknown soldier for World War II, and an unknown soldier for the Korean War. Now there was an unknown soldier for the Vietnam War, like he was later identified. So since that too, they said, and every law on this is getting on service level. So employed 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, in all weather conditions. By the Bill Cessna So come to a stop at the tube. Next change of the guard, we have 11 o'clock actual time. Now this is important, everyone. Pay attention. We do not pick you up here. Do not come here to get picked up. Straight ahead, you see the other people with the ponchos. That's where you get picked up. That side of the steps. So see the ceremony. Opposite side of the building where you took your picture.
Do you feel the need to have a conversation? We try to get the volume so everybody can enjoy the tour. On the driver's side of the vehicle, the large cross in the field is a Canadian cross of sacrifice given by the people of Canada in recognition of Americans who joined the Canadian Armed Services during the World War when the United States was a neutral country. The large book is on the ground in front of the large tree in the corner is a memorial tree for war correspondents, one of 142 memorial trees. Notice a number of others on either side of the table. That one for war correspondents. Out in the field, the large mast is the rear mast of the battleship Maine. The Maine was sent to Havana, Cuba in 1898 from an uprising. While there, she mysteriously exploded. Originally thought to be a Spanish mine, now understood to be an accident. The sinking of the Maine led to the battle cry, "Remember the Maine," and the Spanish-American War. On the passenger side, section 13, one of the largest Civil War sections of the cemetery, has over 16,000 Civil War combatants. Here in section 13. Also, George Washington Park Custis is buried here. George Washington Park Custis was the grandson of President George Washington, grandson of George's wife, Martha Dandridge Custis Washington. And he established Arlington in 1802 as an 1,100-acre livestock plantation. Had here as many as 130 slave workers. And during, so 30 years later, 1831, his daughter, Mary Anna Randolph Plessis, married a young Army lieutenant, an up-and-coming officer, a fellow Virginian, Robert E. Lee. The Lees lived here together at Arlington. For the next 30 years, in 1861, Colonel Robert E. Lee turned down command of the Army of the Potomac, taking instead command of the Army of Northern Virginia for the Confederacy. He would leave here, never to return again. In 1861, Fort Whipple was established here to command the views over Washington, D.C. Fort Whipple is now Fort Myer on the driver's side. In 1864, Brigadier General Montgomery T. Bay, Quartermaster General of the Army, set aside 200 acres of the property as military cemetery. That was in May of 1864, was approved by Secretary of War Stanton in June. On the driver's side, take a look at the big tree and notice how it's consuming a grave marker. Up ahead, we're going to see a large tree by the side of the road consuming two grave markers, one on each side. And just past the tree are two black granite markers that replace the information of the markers consumed by the tree. Arlington National Cemetery is a level 3 arboretum. Level 4 is the highest, right where these kids are. See the markers just past the tree. Level 4 arboretum. The highest is level 4, this is level 3. There are over 400 species of tree, 10,000 specimens here at the cemetery, making up the arboretum. In front of us is section 1, not the oldest, but one of the most ornate sections of the cemetery. If you look just to the left of this tree, look in the second row, you'll see a grave marker. It's got two bronze circles on it. That is James Ingen. James Ingen was a veteran of the Revolutionary War. He was reburied here 96 years after his death. He died in 1812. He was a general in the American marker here on the driver's side says Doubleday on it, or Abner Doubleday. Major General Abner Doubleday did not invent the game of baseball. He did, however, command the Union artillery at the Battle of Fort Sumter when the fort was fired upon by the Confederates. He returned fire at the beginning of the Civil War. Major General Philip Kearny on the passenger side is missing his left arm. He lost it in the Mexican-American War, lost his life in the Civil War at the Battle of Chantilly, about 30 miles west of here. On the passenger side is the James Tanner Memorial Amphitheater. James Tanner was Abraham Lincoln's personal secretary during the Civil War. This was, in fact, the first Memorial Day ceremony, time as Decoration Day, when families would decorate the graves of loved ones. That was presided over by General Future President James Garfield. On the passenger side, the large square monument is the Civil War Tomb of the Unknown. Civil War Tomb of the Unknown, the largest group burial marker here at Arlington, with over 2,100. Please remain seated, keep all items, objects, fingers and toes inside the vehicle at all times. On both sides of the vehicle, or actually on the driver's side of the vehicle, the Arlington woods that were maintained by the National Park Service. They give us an idea of what a portion of this property may have looked like in the 19th century as a livestock, an 1,100-acre livestock plantation. The lumber was an important part of the economic operation going on here as it was being sold to the growing city of Washington.
I can see.
Natural beauty here is as far removed as we can imagine from the war-torn battlefields of Western Europe during World War I. Those battlefields saw the first major deployments of tanks, artillery, aircraft, machine guns, barbed wire, and poison gas. The devastated battlefields were so destroyed that the only thing that could grow there were little red monkeys. In 1950, Canadian surgeon Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, the loss of a friend, whose funeral he had just presided over, Flanders Field, marked below, which means the process road. That gave us the image of the blood red poppy as a symbol of sacrifice, now known the world over. I invite you to join me on the sidewalk after your tour for a brief commemorative self-copy to remember your time here at Arlington National Cemetery and the over 400,000 people buried here. President John F. Kennedy was not the only president buried here on Arlington. The first president buried here was William Howard. Taft served from 1909 to 1913 as President of the United States. In 1920, became Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. The job he lasted for his presidency. The only person to have served as the executive of two branches of the government. His wife, Helen, had never seen in Washington planting the cherry blossom trees with the life of Japanese ambassadors. President Taft was a big fan of the game of baseball. He was the first president to draw the first at an opening game of baseball. By an equal. Big O3 President Taft decided to sit through that entire game the Washington Senators game in April of 1910. And we do have a tradition here in this country that when the president stands, everybody stands. He did try to sit through that entire game, but in the middle of the seventh inning, he stood up. Everybody stood up. Began a tradition we know today as the seventh inning stretch. On the passenger side, a long brown walkway leading to a tall brown obelisk, the final resting birthplace of William Howard Taft and his wife, Nellie. Immediately past the walkway in the second row, 5 stars in a circle on the right-hand side, is General Omar Bradley. General Bradley commanded all the American forces in Europe at the end of World War II with 1.3 million men under his immediate command. In the middle of the front row, 4 stars for General Alexander Haig, right, Secretary of State under Reagan. And then on the left-hand side, on the left, 3 stars for Lieutenant General Timothy English, officer killed at the Pentagon in 1907. We just came from the top of the hill to the Arlington House on the property league. If you look down on the driver's side, down to Memorial Avenue, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial in line with the building on the far side. Special thank you to anyone who is serving, has served, or is here on behalf of someone who has served. Thank you for your service and Ladies and gentlemen, on the sidewalk I will have copies for you. Also, if you have questions,